Welcome. Thank you so much. And good morning, everyone. So good to be back with you this week. It's always good to be here. It's good to be anywhere, quite frankly, right? And good morning to everyone joining us online this morning, and welcome back, Reverend Kitty. So thrilled that you're back. This is just great. It is like being up playing a club this morning, right? So might be a dance and a song coming up here. Got the song. Well, maybe not. So we're continuing this morning on the series that Reverend Kitty started 7 weeks ago. 7 weeks talking about the 7 chakras. And of course, last week we spoke about the third eye chakra. And remember, we did a meditation around that. Has anyone been doing third eye meditation this week at all? Anyone? A few of you. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I've done it too. It's quite interesting, isn't it? And we're going to continue along that. I'd like to start this morning, because it is the last week, to talk about all the chakras, just to do a recap, to kind of get us back together, because the crown chakra that we're talking about today is really considered to be the controller of all the other chakras, if you will. The crown chakra being right up here at the top of our crown, the top of our heads, and it brings everything into play in a manner of speaking, as we'll talk about today. And that's why I went for a white shirt. I got lots of colors in there, colors of chakras. And between this and my socks, I think I hit every single color of the chakra. So see me later if you want to see the socks. Okay, have a slide up. Next slide up, please. Okay, so we're talking about here the chakras, about how the chakras work together. And the chakras basically, as Deepak Chopra said, are an intersection, if you will. That's how I like to put it, an intersection between consciousness of spirit and biology. We talked about this a little bit last week too. And what is biology? It's our bodies. It's kind of the suits we put on to move around on this plane, and that we get so attached to, that we think everything is happening through. And even this concept of the chakras, which are really ethereal bodies, if you will, within our body. They do connect up to certain key organs at different points in our body, but they're really an energy field, if you will. They're a spinning energy field, as it's been put. So it puts it into a great context that this is how our bodies are connected to the infinite in so many different ways, in terms of the infinite flowing down through us and showing up in our bodies. According to yoga tradition, the chakras are actually referred to as subtle energies, subtle body. In other words, they're part of our body, but a subtle body. We can't really see them, you can't touch them, you can't kick them, you can't throw food at them either. Don't want food on my chakras this morning, right? But you can feed your chakras. It's where our energy flows, and it's so important to kind of put this in perspective. So I'd like to bring up the next slide, please, Cindy. Here's a big picture of what our chakras look like in our body, okay, and where the different sections are. And you remember, if you've been here following this series over the past 7 weeks, Reverend Kitty and then Mary Beth and I last week have been walking you through each of these different chakras. And I just want to give, again, just a little bit of an overview of these chakras, because it starts at the crown chakra really at the top, but we started at the bottom, so we've been working our way up, if you will. And the very bottom chakra is the root chakra, which is all about safety and stability. It's at the base of your spine. It's about safety and stability. So in other words, do I walk through life feeling like I'm in a safe universe, or do you feel like it's not a safe universe? And believe me, I see this coming up for myself all the time. I have to remind myself, I live in a safe universe. This is a very good time to do this now after we've been through national elections. So always remind ourselves, I live in a safe universe, whatever outcome, whatever goes on around us. So I'm going to just give us an affirmation for each of these chakras today, just a brief affirmation, that I live in a safe universe. Could you join me in saying that? I live in a safe universe. The next chakra is our root chakra. And that's right around around our navel, and that's all about joy, sensuality, emotions, and being able to feel things, really, if you will. It's a feeling chakra and a very important part of us. So the affirmation I'd like to use for that is, I know that I feel joy and I'm open to feel my emotions. I feel joy and open to feel my emotions. Could you join me in that? I feel joy and I'm open to feel my emotions. The next chakra, third one up, is our sacral chakra. And that's all about will, W-I-L-L, will and power. Will and power is a very important part. It's one of the unity principles, if you will, of the 12 powers, that we have the will to will things to happen in our lives. And that's a crucial part of any New Thought teaching, is not just that I'm one with Spirit, that I'm an expression of Spirit, and we each are, but we have to use our conscious minds, or we can choose, let me say we can choose to use our conscious minds to affect what we're expressing in life, because we create life in the individual as Spirit does in the universal. So will is a very important part. Without our will and recognizing our power to manifest, then we just kind of float through life, right? Taking whatever comes our way. So I'd like to have an affirmation this morning for that I know how to will things to happen in my life. Would you join me in that? I now know how to will things to happen in my life. Next chakra, one of our favorites, the heart chakra. And that's all about love and relationships. Everyone like that chakra? They're all good chakras, but the heart chakra, and you know, people have said that the mind, while we often think our mind is centered in the brain, our mind, which is the spiritual part of us, is centered often in the heart. The heart has its own intelligence, if you will. So the heart is all about love and relationships. I know right now how to feel love in my life. Could you join me in that, please? I know how to feel love in my life. The throat chakra is all about expression, communications. And I know Reverend Kitty talked with us about what are you communicating? What is your word? Don Miguel Ruiz talks about that in his book, The Four Agreements, the power of the spoken word, that our word is powerful. Our word is extremely powerful. Oftentimes when I'm doing prayer work with people, I'll say, and my word is powerful and always manifests. My word is powerful and always manifests. So let's use that as our affirmation today. My word is powerful and always manifests. And then coming back to what we talked about last week, the third eye chakra. Again, between your eyebrows, right there, is that part of us that we've heard of most of our lives about the third eye. It's about intuition. It's about connecting with that inner voice within us. It's about wisdom. It's a very critical part of us. So let's have as our affirmation around this morning, that I am attuned to Spirit through my third eye. Let's say that together. I am attuned to Spirit through my third eye. Okay, so those are our 7 chakras, and it brings us up to the crown chakra, which Mary Beth and I are going to talk about this morning. And as I said earlier, the crown chakra, it's really centered up here, they say at the crown of our heads, maybe a few inches above, and they often refer to it as being the controller of all the other chakras. It doesn't mean that they're all not important, they're not all connected. And by the way, I always say that God is expressing through every single cell in my body. Every single cell in my body has all the intelligence of the universe, and every molecule within those cells, and every atom, and you keep going. There is no limit, because we live in an infinite universe where there is no time or space, and Spirit is everywhere. We are expressing everywhere. But these chakras are a mechanism within us to attune to these vibrations of Spirit and to allow things to flow through us, and also to let things flow out of us. In order for us to move around in this spiritual suit that we have and have these direct connections to Spirit, we need these chakras, these spinning discs of energy, as they've been referred to. Why do we need them? Because that's just how it is. And people have over the thousands of years connected this, going back very much to the Hindu religion and back beyond that through all around the world in different cultures, different religions, that there are these energy centers within our body. It's important to note again, however, as we're doing this, not to lose track that our connection with spirit is never broken. So we can, we've been talking about how do we strengthen our chakras, how do we can get out of balance in our chakras. We'll talk a little bit about that. We can get out of balance and have things show up in our life, or they can be in perfect balance. But whether you're in balance or out of balance, we're never not connected with spirit as expressions of spirit. I am God in expression. You are each God in expression. You are unique, individualized expressions of God, and that never changes. But, here's a but, I don't like using that but word, but we can turn down our connection. We can tune it down a little bit, so maybe we're not hearing quite so well. I gave an example last week about if you had a radio. Anyone still have radios around here? Okay, we still have, at least in our cars, right? If you go on your radio and you tune in on a station, and you're not quite on that station, what are you going to get? A bunch of static, right? Now, does that mean the radio, that station is not transmitting perfectly? It's transmitting perfectly. You're just not tuned in on it properly. So it's the same way that it works within us, and that's why most of us are here and on our spiritual path, because we're learning to tune in better to the universe. We're learning to strengthen that connection that we have with God consciously. But again, we're never not connected with spirit. That's the good news this morning. So on a physical level, our chakras are doing the same thing as that example of the radio I gave you. We're tuning into different aspects of our being. Can we go to the next slide, Cindy? So our crown chakra, again, is right at the crown of our head. And by the way, that's why I wear my hair the way I do, to get a stronger connection here. Just in case you were wondering. Hope I'm not glaring from the lights, actually, but that's the glare of the power of the chakra. So the color is depicted as white here today, but it's often depicted as indigo as well in certain systems. You'll see it both ways. And gold also. Gold is another color of that chakra. So the musical note, we've been talking about that too, they resonate at different frequencies, if you will, and the note for this chakra is B. So when we do our meditation this morning, you're going to be in the key of B. That's what we're going to be doing this morning. So again, the crown chakra is all about our connection with spirit. That's the significant part about it. It's about universal consciousness, wisdom, spiritual wisdom. It's even about thought, but what type of thought? It's about thoughts that flow through us from spirit. On a physical level, it's connected with something called the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is located deep within the center of your brain. And it's a very critical part. It's sort of like what I've seen referred to it as the master controller. In a manner of speaking, it controls many things going on in the body. And again, on a physical level, there is a connection where it's working through that, just like the heart chakra is connected to the heart. It doesn't mean that it's an energy field, but it's working through the heart, if you will. When this chakra, the crown chakra, is imbalanced, we feel a greater sense of oneness with spirit. Can you all kind of associate with that feeling of being in that place of a oneness with spirit? And then the other side of that, which is when we feel disconnected from spirit, confusion, poor mental functioning, and even a sense of fear. I believe a sense of fear has a lot to do when we're not feeling connected with spirit. And of course, from this quasi-physical level, energy field level, has to do with an imbalance of that particular chakra. Now remember, and we're going to talk about this, we work with tools here in Unity, and we work with tools of New Thought, affirmations, prayers, denials, meditation. All those things are here to strengthen these chakras, and whether you care to focus on them or just do it on a more global manner. If you're saying that, we talk all the time about affirmations here, and we talk about prayer and how important it is. So whether you're focusing on chakras, which are great, or whether you want to do it on a more global level, it's all fantastic because it's all going in the same place. Where's it going? It's going into spirit. Where's it coming from? It's coming from spirit because there's only one, and we're not separate. Not one of us is separate. We never will be, never have been. So 3 ways that we approach this idea. We're going to talk about this more as I bring Mary Beth up in a moment. 3 ways to work with this crown chakra, and really all the chakras. Number 1 are awareness. Awareness says this. Awareness says we can walk around like I once did many years ago before I discovered New Thought and these teachings, and just kind of take things as they happen. Well, things ain't so great today. I feel kind of lonely, or I feel kind of depressed, or whatever. Awareness, we call this the ABCs of New Thought. Awareness builds consciousness. Awareness builds consciousness. We had a member of one of our churches, our church back in California, they used to say it like this. He used to say, once I'm aware of something going on within me, once I'm aware that it's there and it's happening, it's dust. I wish it was quite that simple. It's not always that simple. But the key part is to be aware, what am I feeling? That's where the feelings and our emotions come in. What am I feeling? And then having that awareness about it, not to bypass it, that spiritual bypass we call it, which is like putting whipped cream on garbage. The feelings are really happening, right? They're there. Pay attention to it. But then build the awareness that there's something going on, because underneath that feeling is a thought, a belief. There's a belief that precedes the feelings, and that's where the healing comes. That's why we say the feeling gets the healing, but I got to dig down a little deeper and get what's going on here. From there, the tool we can work with then is doing affirmations. We did some affirmations earlier. We're going to do some more around the crown chakra today. Meditation, and of course, prayer. And we're going to do a meditation around the crown chakra this morning. So again, it's important to remember that this context of this is all spirit and expression through us. And what's happening today, and we're very blessed in this, and has been going on for some time now, is we're at the intersection greater than ever before of science and spirituality. So that science today is proving these principles that we study here. Even the pieces about the chakras and how they're working, science is affirming it and improving it through quantum physics. Quantum physics speaks exactly to what we teach here, and people are grasping onto the scientists even saying, hey, this is a mystery. We're not sure why this is happening or why it is, but we know, and Einstein said this too, that there is a great power and force in this universe behind this, and intelligence that's making all things happen. So I'd like to bring up my wonderful wife and co-pastor, Reverend Mary Beth Spear.
Thank you, Michael. So one of the things we tend to talk about, you've heard Michael and I both speak to it quite a bit, is this intersection of science and spirituality. And for the crown chakra, to me, it is really the pinnacle of this new evolutionary awareness. It's not that things haven't been there before, we just didn't know they were there. And if you could put my first slide up, I have quite a few of these slides. Back in the 1970s, some of you might remember somebody named Alvin Toffler, who wrote a book called Future Shock. I don't know if anybody remembers, but this statement always stayed with me. The illiterate of the 21st century, which is where we are now, will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. The thing about it, we often think just out there, politics, psychology, sociology, biology, technology, but we have to also look at theology. Science is proving God. But what science is proving is not the duality of God that's been bought into by well-meaning generation after generation. We are talking about non-duality. We're talking about the name of our organization. What are we? Unity. Because it's being proven in quantum physics that there's only one thing going on here in infinite variety, and we're one with it. You guys have probably heard me say over and over again the quote about God is an infinite sphere whose circumference is nowhere, whose center is everywhere. Now, that's not a new idea. That was back in Hermes the Great in 2,000, 3,000 years ago. So really what we're working with is recognizing that in every type of theology, something happened. Somebody had that awareness, that crown chakra awareness of something, transcendence, where knowing without knowing how we know. And I am sure everybody's had that experience, haven't we? Somehow, some way we knew what we knew, but we didn't really know how we knew it. This particular chakra in relationship to the unity teaching that we've got, also, as Reverend Kitty's been tying in some of the 12 powers, this particular one is the one that is tied in with faith and understanding. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with H. Emily Cady, but she wrote an amazing book called Lessons in Truth. And she has a whole chapter on faith in there. And what I love about her chapter is she talks about there's two types of faith. One is blind faith, which we all have. We've all experienced it. But then she talks about understanding faith, which is having the faith that we have principle that always works no matter what. And we can count on it. And sometimes that's the good news, and sometimes that's not the good news. But what I wanted to do today is illustrate how we can have understanding faith in this principle that life is always happening on the side of life, and that there is emergent evolution going on, and it's natural, and we can trust this universe. It can be a safe universe for us, even regardless of the experiences we may be having. A lot of times that gets proven in my life and in yours in a weird way, because sometimes we'll have the epiphany after we have the chaos. And that's a natural order of things. So let's see, I have, not yet. Okay, so here, I'm gonna give you some examples now. Back in the 1970s, a University of Oregon track coach named Bill Bowerman was searching for a design for a new kind of track shoe for his runners, and he was working very hard on trying to discern this. And legend has it that one morning, when he sat down to eat his breakfast, mulling over this idea, his wife put out a platter of waffles on the table. He looked at those waffles, and all of a sudden, he had that sudden knowing that this is the pattern for the Nike shoe that he was going to develop. Who knows things like that? But it's about being aware and waking up. And those, we were wondering if we'd have waffles today in the shape of shoes. You know, and it's just an amazing thing, because how many times had he maybe had waffles before, but he didn't get the download, the divine download. He had the intention and he had the desire, but he didn't have the download. So here we have that crown chakra moving through us intuitively down into our mind, where the mind perceives and can achieve by having that original desire. I love the fact that even to this day, Mrs. Bowerman's rubberized waffle iron is on display at the Nike Town Superstore Museum right here in Chicago. Another fabulous example, one of my favorite. Edgar Mitchell. How many of you know the name Edgar Mitchell? Edgar Mitchell, over 50 years ago, became the 6th person to walk on the moon. And as a member of the Apollo 14 mission, his purpose was to conduct the in-depth research on the lunar surface. Well, that mattered in this story, because what happened is he thought his mission was done. He got back in the space capsule. They took off, coming back to Earth. He was very fortunate because he was not all involved in all the technical things that all the other engineers were having to do and the astronauts. He was able to just sit, and he got a window seat, which is cool. He had a window seat looking out, and he saw the little tiny dime of the Earth and the vast heavens around it. And he had an experience that he called noetic. The word noetic means our inner subjectified experience. By the time he landed on Earth, His whole entire life had changed. His mission now became to create an environment where he could pull together every aspect of leading a technology that would be in the area of noetic sciences. And what came from that is something called the Institute of Noetic Sciences. It's known as IONS. I don't know how many of you have heard of it. They're headquartered in Petaluma, California. They are an amazing organization, having had so many breakthroughs. But he had to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. You know, one of the things I would encourage you to do is when you get a chance, go on your computer and Google IONS, or Institute of Noetic Sciences, and listen to him describe in video what he went through. It was really pretty phenomenal. Another interesting thing for Chicago is if you go to the Museum of Science and Industry, in the space exhibition part of it, you can see his space capsule that he had that moment in. It still gives me chills when I go there. Another example I want to give you, futurist Buckminster Fuller. May not be a household name for a lot of people. Some of you may know Barbara Marx Hubbard, who has also been a futurist and had a great impact on metaphysics and science. But Buckminster Fuller became a world-renowned American architect, systems theorist, writer, designer, inventor, philosopher, and futurist. He was the one who designed the thing called the geodesic dome. But when he was about 27 years old, he had lost his daughter. She died from conditions in his home that he actually was so upset about that he created a company and tried to provide a product that would relieve homes of the condition that his daughter had had. But the company failed. He went bankrupt. And when he was 27 years old, he had a brand new daughter. He had financial woes. They had no backup at all. Well, he was walking here in Chicago along the banks of Lake Michigan. I was going to say Washington, of Lake Michigan, looking in the water, contemplating suicide. And he said that at that moment, he experienced a profound incident which would prove direction and purpose for his life. He felt as though he was suspended several feet above the ground, enclosed in a white sphere of light. And a voice spoke directly to him and declared, and this is a slide, if you want to put it up. The voice said, "From now on, you need never await temporal attestation to your thought. You think the truth. You do not have the right to eliminate yourself. You do not belong to you. You belong to the universe. Your significance will remain forever obscure to you, but you may assume that you are fulfilling your role if you apply yourself to converting your experiences to the highest advantage of others." I think that could be said of all of us. As they say, there is no big or small in the mind that makes it all. As Mother Teresa once said, we do not do great things, we do small things, but do them with great love. So one more example. Oh, and by the way, another one, his geodesic dome that he and his wife lived in is still a museum that you can go through down in Carbondale, Illinois. So we have a lot of local stuff here. So here's my last slide. I think, oh no, the next slide, not my last. Okay, this was my epiphany. This was one of my moments. I was in one of those dark nights once upon a time, years ago. Before I knew I was going to be a minister, I had that sense of not knowing what I wanted to do with my life and what in the heck. And I remember weeping, and I was out taking my trash out one night, and I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I was crying, and I'm thinking, God, I just want a sign. I just want a sign. Anybody ever wanted to see a sign? I'm going, other people get signs. I want a sign. And you have to sometimes be really quiet to hear that voice. But I realized there was a little voice playing in my mind with words I didn't even know I knew. And it was a song from Godspell. Day by day, oh dear Lord, three things I pray: to see thee more clearly, to love thee more dearly, and to follow thee more nearly day by day. There I was, to see clearly, to love dearly, to follow nearly. It was my roadmap. It was, I believe, from that evening that the genesis of my own ministry began, because at that point I had some idea of what I was to do. So everything really does boil down to unity. Everything boils down to how are we living our lives and how are we paying attention, because it takes attention. That's the spiritual coin. We pay attention, and the dividends and returns are great. When we hear the small voice, we have to calm down, be peaceful. We also have to work on this sense of fear of separation to begin to really cleave to understanding some of this thing with quantum physics. It's showing us, the scientists are showing us that there is no separation between us, each other, and everything, because it's all one thing. So let's see this slide, this quote. I love this quote. And I'm sorry, I don't know who said it, but I read it somewhere. Become a Buddha, not a Buddhist. Become a Christ, not a Christian. One implies an awakened state of consciousness, Christ consciousness, Buddha nature. The other is a dogmatic approach to life. Next slide. I love this. It's said to be John Lennon. God is too big for one religion. Love and quantum physics are my religion. At one level, all religious traditions have the same aim: to transform the individual into a positive being. All rivers lead to the same ocean. And one more slide that I think just fits this crown chakra perfectly. Buddha left a roadmap. Jesus left a roadmap. Krishna left a roadmap. But you still have to travel the road yourself. So we're going to go do some affirmations and let the journey begin. Thank you.
Thank you. As we prepare for meditation, we're going to just do some affirmations together for our, there they are, around our crown chakra. So I'd like you to read these with me. We're going to start with the first affirmation. I open to my deep understanding and clarity. I have the capacity to connect to universal wisdom, to experience a spiritual awareness, and to understand interconnectedness of all things. I open my mind to deeper wisdom in all things, and I am willing to know more than I realize. If you'd like to let yourself be comfortable, just any position that you're comfortable in as we go into meditation around the third chakra. Let's just take a nice deep breath to start out with and slowly release. Take another deep breath and hold it for a moment and then just slowly release. So knowing right here and right now that there is only one presence, one power, one intelligence in this universe, the all-loving goodness of God. That expression is everywhere present in my life, uplifting me, fulfilling me, providing for me. Because I am this expression of life, manifest as myself, and know that for yourself in that first person, that I am that. I am. I am that. I am. I am that. I am. This is truly interconnectedness at the highest level, because I am not separate from the very source of my good, the one power, the one intelligence, the one life, expresses through me now, as me, in perfect ways. So this morning I allow myself to be more present and more aware in my life to the goodness that surrounds me, to the many, many blessings that are provided in every area of my life, in the area of my relationships, in the area of my creative expression, my work, in the area of my finances and my perfect flow of money, my abundance, my prosperity, and in the area of my physical health and wellness. Accept that God is present as me through all of this. God is present as me through all of this. And I allow myself to be aware and clear through the intuition, the knowingness that Spirit provides of anything that I need to be aware of within my own body and through all these energy fields that I refer to as my chakras. I know right now that I am entering and willing to enter into a place of perfect flow in every area of my life. Perfect flow. Allowing the goodness and the wisdom and the guidance of Spirit to flow through me right now. I am lifted up. I am lifted up into a newer and higher and greater consciousness that continues to grow every single day. I am clear. I am aware. And I am open and willing and receptive to the grace of Spirit and to God's living Spirit moving through me right now. So it is in this wonderful knowingness right here and now that I just say thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Divine Mind, for the wonderful blessings in my life and for the wonderful blessings in this planet, in this country, in this entire universe, because I know truly I am blessed. I am blessed and truly grateful. Accepting that this word that has been spoken within each of us, that we have known, felt, and seen, is complete and already fulfilled in Divine Mind in the infinite. I now release this. I let go. Let God. So it is. And I just invite you, as you're ready, to open your eyes slowly and come back into the room again and join us.